Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case. Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to vermontitude.com, reformer.com, brattleboro.tv, and locally on Comcast Channel 1078. We come to you from our studios at the Innovation Box on Landmark Hill. I'm Peter Fish Case, and each week I cover the topics that are of concern to Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Joining us today is Justin Johnston, who is the Director of Programming at Turning Point. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Yeah. If you would, you and I have had several conversations, so I sort of know you. I know your story. I've heard it in great detail. You have this interesting path to arrive at this point in time right now. Do you mind sharing just a little bit of that? We don't have to go into great detail, but just like a minute of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, good morning, folks. My name is Justin Johnston. I'm a person in long-term recovery and a resident here in Brattleboro. My story to recovery started when I joined Turning Point in 2017. I had been sober for almost 3 years at that point while I was incarcerated federally. And upon my release, I got introduced to Turning Point really with this mindset of faking it till I make it, and just trying to impress people around me, make my probation officers happy. But I walked in that first day, and I've been with the organization ever since. And the reason why I chose to stick around and keep coming back is how I was lifted up on day one, being told that I was capable of anything, that I was a great person, and having this support and community around me was a new experience for me. Early on in my journey with Turning Point, my sister Ashley passed away from an opiate overdose. And this was the first time in my life I had used something so tragic as a reason to push forward in my life instead of an excuse to use substances again. I made her a promise, and I'm very proud of myself for being able to keep that promise. But it came with challenges. About 9 months after that, my mother, Janie, passed away from cancer. So within such a short time frame and very new to recovery, I was facing these challenges, and I became super grateful for what Turning Point was providing me. I really realized that without this peer support and community around me, I may not have gotten through that. At one point in my life, I could say that 65% of my life had been spent in foster homes, group homes, rehabs, and incarceration. And that was this really troubling thought in my head, thinking that I would never be able to be a positive member of the community, that I would never get opportunities to experience what it was like to have a career that I was proud of, that I loved doing. But that was also given to me through recovery and being engaged in the recovery community at Turning Point. So, that's just a little bit of me in a nutshell and where I'm at.
So it's a good leap off point. So really kind of what sort of kept you on the straight and narrow through that like very, very difficult 12 months of your life, that very difficult year, was safe to say Turning Point and that sort of sober living model. Is that?
Well, I guess I can say sober living. It wasn't through Turning Point or an official organization here in Brattleboro because, we just didn't have that at that time. But I was in a sober, supportive environment with my partner, Deidre, and my daughter, Avery. Okay. So I did have this amount of structure and accountability in my life. So in a way, I was definitely in a sober environment, and that helped me out a lot.
So with that, though, can you just, because Turning Point sort of does that now, and can you just explain what sober living is briefly?
Yeah, for sure. Sober living provides essential support for folks in recovery by offering a safe and structured environment to continue towards their journey of towards sobriety. Specifically, at Turning Point, we are right now really making a huge push to add sober living into our community, and we've been reaching out a lot to community members and businesses to gain as much support as possible. Sober living has shown that it has the ability to reduce substance use rates within the community, decrease addiction-related criminal activity, and help residents achieve and maintain long-term sobriety, and be productive members of the community. Experiencing that as a person who's struggled for so long, it's a very rewarding and an invigorating feeling to be validated for your positive changes, and to see what comes with sticking with it, and what recovery can give you.
Sure. All right. No, it's really good. It's just a real strong point to kind of understand. Now, the town in which we operate is Brattleboro, Vermont. It's come under some scrutiny for some issues. We know that there are people who have very strong feelings about what we're seeing unfold on our street. Your executive director, Christine Allen, has basically said, when you see them, send them to us. So somebody finally, you put this message out there. There is clearly somebody who needs some recovery services. Step me through what happens if that person shows up.
For sure. Everybody who shows up at Turning Point they're all in a different spot in their life.
Sure.
And we are very open and welcoming to everybody, regardless of where they're at in their recovery, whether that is active use to long-term abstinence. But we treat everybody the same, and we have the same expectations for everybody, regardless of where we're at, because our priority is recovery and continuing to create a safe environment for folks who are working really hard on this journey. And a big part of that journey is reducing negative people, places, and things that can often turn to triggers and relapses. So when folks walk through the door, they're always going to be greeted with a smile and with kindness and empathy. And then we're going to meet them where they're at, depending on what they say they're there for and need. And that can look different for everybody. It may be a coffee and a conversation to assess that. And then that can turn into long-term recovery coaching, getting assistance with going to treatment, getting connected with medicated assistance support or housing agencies in local Brattleboro. And that can also mean that some individuals are just there for the day, hanging out to be in a safe spot.
Right.
But we prioritize recovery. So no matter who you are and where you're at, we have the same expectations that, we are not going to condone certain behaviors that can be triggering to folks in recovery.
Right.
Such as falling asleep on the couches and being, angry and disrespectful, disrupting our meetings and groups. In every opportunity that folks have to come to the door, we have an opportunity to then model the importance and power of recovery and the positive changes that come with it.
Right. So let's briefly, we had a chance before we started rolling tape here to talk about the differences between the needs of somebody who's in active use and the needs of somebody who's in recovery. And you said a few interesting things. And as a person who has been on both sides of that coin, I think it means a lot. If you can just give us a brief explanation of what does the active use person need versus what are the needs of that person that's in recovery?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question, Peter. I think it's an important thing to talk about and to talk about in different ways than we typically do. As a person in recovery with many, many lived experiences that, include a perfect ACE score, which isn't a good thing if you're familiar with adverse childhood experiences, experience being unhoused with incarceration, loss and grief due to substances. I really understand the importance of accountability, but also doing so in a compassionate accountability way. And what I've learned in my journey on recovery is that my values in active use with a criminal thinking kind of mindset were much different than they are now being a person in recovery. I think it's extremely important to listen to the voices of folks most impacted and the folks we serve. It is today, it was yesterday, and it will continue to be tomorrow. But with that said, I think that when folks are in active use, the needs that are articulated in that moment look much different than the needs that will be articulated when they're in recovery and working towards positive things.
Right.
And for example, when I was in active use, using certain resources in town to my advantage, just surviving, I may have articulated my biggest needs were a cell phone, a car, a house, some money for food, whatever I could really get out of the system that I know I could then turn to a dollar to support my habit.
Okay.
But in recovery, my needs changed over time. And this didn't happen after 8 years of being in recovery. I noticed these changing after my first year in recovery, that I no longer had a need for certain aspects that I thought I would need because those were coming to me through the hard work of recovery.
Right.
And now the needs I would articulate the most are feeling supported within my community, knowing that my children can be safe within our community, and that there are opportunities for Brattleboro residents and our youth to really not just live, but to thrive. I don't want my kids to just survive and get by day to day with as little resources and community connection as possible. I want them to thrive, and they're going to do that by being connected to a strong, supported community.
Right. No. So coming up now, we are in September, and it is National Recovery Month. Okay. So explain what National Recovery Month means. We've got a few minutes left, so I just kind of want to drill into that and what that means for Turning Point and how you guys are going to roll out and be a supportive part of that.
For sure. So National Recovery Month started in the 80s, and it's really just a way to, as a country, to honor and appreciate folks in recovery, and folks maybe that are still struggling and seeking recovery. So across the country, many organizations will be putting on different activities and events to raise awareness, to lower stigma, and to create fun within recovery. I think it's really, really important for us when we talk about recovery to talk about having fun. It's a very scary feeling to think that all recovery is walking in and talking about trauma and your feelings. But it's so much more than that. It's getting back to doing the things we love, right, and feeling confident and comfortable that we can do them while being sober. So for September, Turning Point of Windham County will be holding a variety of different events throughout the month. Starting on Wednesday, the 11th, we're going to have a full-on fun game day where we'll have board games, Jeopardy, and a pool tournament. On Friday the 13th, we are going to hold a trash pickup day where volunteers will get a $10 gift card. And we want to do that to help give back and support the downtown business area and local businesses and community members. And it's also a way to get our guests and volunteers involved and feel rewarded afterwards that they've also had a positive impact on the community. And that's a feeling that, I can speak for myself. I had never had. And when I started to have that feeling of being a positive member, it was so rewarding, and it kept propelling me forward to continue achieving that. We are also going to be doing on Tuesday the 17th a movie matinee and be watching the film Ben is Back. This is a recovery-related movie, very inspiring, very emotional, and I think folks will join it. And that's important because we recognize that a lot of folks struggling right now don't always have the opportunity to sit down as a group and community and watch a movie and have some food and have fun. What we'll be doing on Thursday the 26th is we are having an open house from 3 to 7, followed by a candlelight vigil outside in our garden area. Earlier on in the day, in our collaboration with the Community Substance Use Response Team, we will be holding a Save a Life Day East, which we hope to be one of the largest single days of Narcan distribution and training within our community in multiple locations here in Windham County. And we'll be doing that at various locations from 12 to 2, followed by the open house and then the candlelight vigil.
Okay. Justin, thank you for coming in, explaining all this, clearing up some things that may have been misspoken out in the community. I really appreciate that. Your story is amazing. You're doing important work. And can't thank you enough. And again, like we've had many opportunities to speak before, so I'm hoping that the community gets a deeper look at Justin and what Turning Point does. If folks wanted to make a contribution, what's the website?
Our website is www.turningpointwc.org. You can also find a PayPal link on our Facebook page, or give us a call if you needed a way to send a check or money order or something like that.
Okay, great. Thank you for jumping on Vermontitude.
Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate it.